You are joining Making a Difference with Melissa Clark, a show that shares the compelling stories and voices of well-known and everyday people who change the world in big and small ways. Enjoy our guests, call in, or just listen to be inspired. For this show was made with you in mind. Please join us every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our special guests. And you can listen to our recast at www.melissaclarkshow.com.
I love you, Mommy.
Wigs and Wishes was my way to give back to the industry. So what I wanted to do was unite hairdressers across the globe to make a pledge to never charge a woman going through chemotherapy for hair replacement. I was adopted, and I searched 22 years to find my birth family. So after I found my birth family, it changed my life. I kind of got a wish granted, which is why I started granting wishes. Everything in my life that I feel has made me successful and has helped other people become successful is that you don't know how to live if you don't know how to give. That's been my motto, and it's changed the lives of a lot of people, being a hairdresser.
Follow your heart wherever you go. Inspire those you may not know. Reach out for what can someday be. It's there for you. It's there for me. Say farewell to yesterday, a stepping stone to lead the way. Imagine what can someday be, and and let the best of you go free. Find your voice and then be heard. Listen well, hear is honesty. It's there for you, it's there for me. See your dreams and make them real. Something that imagine what can someday be, and then rise, rise, rise above your dreams, and let the best of you
Martino, I am so excited to sit with you. I love that saying, we just watched your video, you don't know how to live if you don't know how to give. And you are the poster boy of giving. And I can, man, I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for people with cancer. Just, you're a wonderful human being. Tell us the amazing story of how this all started with Wigs and Wishes.
Well, originally it started when my friend Johnny's mom had cancer, and very wealthy family, live out in Texas, and spent thousands of dollars on a wig. And when I went to visit her, it looked like a wig.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if they have all this money and they can't find a way to look cancer free?
Yes.
You know, what does the average American do? What does she do? So then I thought about it. And at the time I was on the cutting council of Intercoiffure, which is like the top 3% of salons in the world.
Yes.
And I met with them at the Waldorf Astoria, the Grand Ballroom. It was packed, thousands of people. And I asked the question on stage, how many of you as salon owners know what to do when one of your clients that has been honoring you, keeping you in business for 20 years, and you are the first person she decides to say she has cancer to, not before her family, right?
Yeah.
She confides in you. How many of you know what to do? And when I tell you, maybe 2 hands went up and a light bulb went off. And I'm like, this is my platform. And I have to find, I honestly, I couldn't have raised my hand if somebody asked me the question at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I found the magic sauce. You know, what is it that makes a wig not look like a wig? You know, and it has to be lace. It has to be hand tied. You have to see the scalp through it. You don't want to wear a cap underneath it. You know, all these things. And it was a journey, but I figured it out, and I started allowing women to look cancer free for free. And at the time, it was just breast cancer.
Right.
And then a woman came in with ovarian cancer. So I'm like, well, I can't tell her no. And then a kid came in who was turned down by 2 of the biggest nonprofits in this country. She was turned down for a wish, and she was turned down for a wig. It was sickening.
Can I ask you, I'm sorry,
Sure.
Martino, can I ask
okay.
you why that happened?
Yes. So the big hair company that supposedly gives free wigs out, they have a strict policy. They want to see tax returns from both parents, and then they decide if you qualify. Okay, so now this single mom who has a deadbeat father for her kid, he's not going to give up his tax returns. So it was so much red tape that she was trying to fight through while she was trying to fight to keep her kid alive. So I got so mad, and I made a video that day and posted it on Facebook, and I put it on YouTube, and I'm like, meet my friend Kiki. And I knew nothing about child wigs at the time. But she was swollen from the prednisone that she was on, and I was able to get a regular wig to fit her, and I put a pink hair extension in it, and she lit up like Times Square. And I said, what else can I do for you? Like, I'm thinking this kid, she's 11, you know, maybe she wants to go to Disney or something simple.
Right.
Well, with God, nothing's simple, because if it's simple, then he can't get the credit for it. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So she says, I want to meet Justin Bieber.
That's right.
I almost dropped dead in my pants. Like, just like, what? There's no way I'm getting to Justin Bieber. I wasn't friends with Paul Abdul at the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he was so big back then, bigger than ever, right? So I make a video. What else do you do? And I posted on Facebook, and his fan club got behind it, and it was trending on Twitter for 2 days. Justin meet Kiki. So, yeah, it was amazing. And unfortunately, I have to be honest with you, you know, Scooter denied the wish, wouldn't grant the wish.
Scooter was his manager, right? He's a famous, yeah.
And we begged, we pleaded, and he said no. I said, I'll even take 10 seconds, a 10-second FaceTime. I'll pay for everything.
Wow.
Said no. So I didn't give up, because quitters never quit. My friends make fun of me that I say that all the time. Quitters never quit.
That's right.
And one day, a man on Facebook reached out to me and said, I have 2 front row VIP tickets, meet and greet with Justin Bieber at the Prudential Center, November 4th. I'll sell them to you for $5,500. And at that moment, I was like, God, you got to be kidding me. And then I said, you know what? This is my last shot. So I bought the tickets, but I didn't tell Kiki that I bought them. I lied to her. And I told her that Justin gave these tickets and he wants to meet you. And she was at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia when that happened. And I FaceTimed her, and the nurses were crying and everybody was screaming. So November 4th comes, and I take her to the concert. It was me and her. We sat front row. She sat on my shoulders the entire concert. And
Wow.
it was so funny. On the way up, she loved Carly Rae Jepsen. And we would sing Call Me Maybe the whole way up because she just loved that song. We did the Harvard dance thing that they did, back then.
Yes.
I didn't know this, but Carly Rae Jepsen was opening for Justin Bieber that night. So not only did she get to meet him, not only did she get to be at the concert, but she got to see Carly Rae Jepsen. So long story short, we're on our way home, and I spent the whole day with her. I took her to Sunday school in the morning. I took her to lunch, and then her mom was coming to my house to pick her up. So she always called me Martini because spell check changes Martino to Martini on the iPhone. So she was like, Martini, my back hurts. And I said, I guess so. You were on my shoulder screaming like a lunatic all night long. What do you expect? I didn't think anything of it. And that was Sunday night. Mom picks her up. Monday, she takes her to CHOP because of this pain. And here it was fluid building up in her lungs.
Right.
By Wednesday, they were talking hospice. I'm like, how did we go from screaming and happy and to hospice, And I was with her every day. And at one point, she loved following all the things on Facebook and YouTube. She would say, Martini, we got 2,000 likes. We got 2,020 likes. She loved it. And by Saturday, she was in and out of consciousness pretty much. And she said to me, I don't want to be forgotten. That's what she said to me. One of the last things she said to me, I don't want to be forgotten. And then Sunday morning, her mom called me and said, I think you need to come here. I think it's going to be done soon. And I went there, and I wasn't there probably 30 seconds, and she took her last breath. And, when the undertaker came, they walked. I just don't like red tape. They come into the house like it was dropping off a package.
I know the
was
feeling.
horrible.
I know.
It was disgusting,
I know the
he
feeling.
comes in with this body bag.
Yep.
And he's just like, you're going to put this kid in a bag and zip it up in front of the mother. It took all of me not to choke him. I said, get out of this house. Just get out of the house. And I picked Kiki up and I carried her outside. And I said, now you can do what you need to do. I'm so mad. And,
Wow.
it was tough. It was tough.
I have to grab a tissue here. That's pretty amazing. Excuse me.
It's okay. It was tough. But
oh boy, you gave that kid one great last of her week, and that.
Yeah, and my friend at the time was the president of Coty Beauty, and Sylvie, and I called her and I said, can you name an OPI nail polish after Kiki? And she did. It's called Kiki's Wish, and it's red, and so she'll never be forgotten.
No, she won't.
And so that's how the charity turned into Wigs and Wishes. When that happened, I realized that my purpose on this planet is not hair products. It's not to be a celebrity stylist. It's not to this facade of jewelry and bling and all that. My purpose here is to serve Christ, share love, connect people, and serve others. That's my purpose. And, if I could go back when I first started my salon in 1998, when nobody knew who I was and I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, I had a client come in. Her name was Heidi. And she's in the video that you watched, her little boy. And in that song that they wrote for us, Danny and Donnie, a stepping stone to lead the way. Bobby was the stepping stone, that little boy that you see, the bald-headed boy in the middle of the video. And his mother had come into my little rinky-dink salon back then, and she had this cute little boy with her. And she left, and I never saw her again. So I thought maybe she didn't like her haircut. And 6-7 months later, she came back, and she looked like she had been through it. It was another single mom.
Right.
And I asked her what was wrong, and she told me Bobby has a rare form of brain cancer, and he has about a year to live. And I didn't know what to do. I had never been in a situation like that in my lifetime. And I said, how can I help? Mind you, I had no way to help, right? At least I thought I had no way to help. Right. And she said, Bobby just wants me to stay home, and I can't afford to not work. So I said, all right, I'm going to have a cut-a-thon. I'm going to cut hair outside. And I'm going to have everybody write the check to you. That way they know where the money's going. And my goal was to raise $5,000. It turned into a 2-day project. A couple of the hairdressers had heard about it and decided to help a little bit here and there. And there's a picture in the video of me dumping a bucket of money on Bobby. And that was the first day. And there was like $10,200 some dollars in that bucket.
Wow.
By day 2, we raised about $22,000. And now here's the God moment. This is why I have so much faith in God. And yeah, I don't hide it. You don't like it, then don't listen to it.
I love it. Yes.
So that money paid Heidi's mortgage for exactly 2 years. Bobby was only supposed to live a year. Bobby lived. I got chills. I've been telling the story for so long. Bobby lived 2 years.
Wow.
So yes. So that's when I realized almost 20 years ago, the power of not giving up and wanting to be the change and wanting to make a difference. And, you know, my friend JG Weeks wrote a #1 song called Let Them See You and Me. You know, we're very good friends. And I just, so many times people get mad and they're like, you know, why can't you do something? And I always feel like he's like, I made you.
That's
So
right.
go do it.
That's right.
So Bobby, his mom and I have been friends ever since, obviously. And, but Bobby was the seed that was planted in me, but it took a long time for that seed to grow. Yeah. You know, it took my friend's mother getting cancer, and then it took that woman with ovarian cancer coming in, and then it took 2 major nonprofits to break the heart of a little girl. And that's what launched Wigs and Wishes. And now we've helped so many people. We just lost 2 kids this week. You know, we lost a little 5-year-old boy. We lost a 3-year-old little boy this week, you know, and it's just, you know, my mom will say to me, I don't know how you do it. And I say, Mom, I don't know how people don't do it. Yeah. You know, and every time I lose a kid, that kid inspires me to help the next kid, you know? So it's just, I don't know, when that's the kids part, but the wigs part, you know, I did a lot of wigs this week. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see I'm wearing the same shirt with all these women, you know, and everyone's a wig. And every woman tells me the same thing. Every woman says, the worst part of this was losing my hair. Take my breasts, take my ovaries, nobody can tell. But when I walk around with a scarf on my head, I might as well hold a sign that says I have cancer. These wigs that I get from Hair You Wear don't look like wigs at all. In fact, some of these patients go back to their oncologist and the doctor will say, I can't believe you didn't lose your hair yet. When I get that message, it's like, you know, but I had a woman this week, she's on my Instagram, and she's a mother of 7 children. She has stage 4 triple negative breast cancer. She's terminal, and she just wants to look cancer-free for her kids. So I put her in the chair, and I never let them watch me shave their head or do anything until the wig is done. And every time I turn that chair around, it's like they won the Powerball. Yes. They gasp, and then the tears, happy tears come out. And it's like, I'm like, good, you didn't cry before when I shaved your head, but you're crying now. That's awesome. And you'll see in so many of the pictures that tear, you know, the glassy eyes, the red eyes, those are not tears of fear. Those are not tears of cancer. Those are not tears of fighting. Those are tears of joy. That's what those tears are. And it's just, the feeling is so rewarding. There's no words to put the feeling. I love that very much, and I apologize for being so emotional. And you're one of the reasons why I wanted to have this show. People like you who make a difference in this world, because I lost my mother to cancer, and I know what a woman goes through watching her hair clump fall out and telling somebody how beautiful they are looking, you know, without their hair. So I really appreciate you, and I ask everybody to pardon me. It's just, it's very, I feel very connected with you, and I thank God for you. So thank you. So we have, I had a question for you, but you already answered it. The reward that you feel watching these women cry with joy. How do you feel inside when that happens? What do you feel? Honestly, I think in order for me to wind up in New Jersey, so much had to happen, right? Yes. My mother was pregnant in Egypt. She wasn't married. They brought her here to get an abortion. She was too far pregnant. So then they tortured her. And then I wound up in an orphanage. And so many things had to happen for me to wind up in Sewell, New Jersey, right?
Yes.
So when these women tell this kid who grew up poor, who grew up not wanted, that I changed their life. I don't know who's happier, them or me.
Yeah.
Almost selfishly, right? It's like I don't work hard at it. It's just in me, right? I guess God just put it in my spirit. I don't know how to explain it. I just love helping people. It is the greatest joy. The feeling, you feel like you have value. You feel like you have a purpose. You know, I grew up thinking I didn't have any purpose in life.
Yes.
I grew up thinking that I wasn't worth anything. And now I get to change the lives of so many people. And I grew up being bullied. I was a nerd. My parents were poor. And now I get love letters, and not Tinder love letters, like compassionate love letters.
Of course.
I get love letters every day. I get multiple letters every day, emails, letters, Instagram messages, whatever, from people just saying, thank you for changing my grandmother's life, my aunt's life, my daughter's life, my mom's life. And I just think that I wouldn't change anything in my life. My father that adopted me was so abusive, but I wouldn't change anything, because I just think that God orchestrated everything so that when it finally came to fruition, that I would know without a shadow of a doubt that he had his hand on me my entire life. And he still does. And I will be changing lives until I take my last breath.
That's right.
So
thank you. Paula Abdul is on your board of your nonprofit. Tell us how important it is to have her on your team.
Yeah, so she's one of our chairwomen, and she is unbelievable. She's amazing, and I'll never forget the day I met her. I couldn't find anybody to help co-host that year of Wigs and Wishes. I think it was 7 years ago, and I called one of my friends. He was the chief marketing officer at Home Shopping Network, and I said, Andy, do you have anybody? I really am like at a loss. I can't find anybody. And in his British accent, he was like, what about Paula Abdul? And I was like, Paula Abdul? I was like, straight up. No
Straight up now, tell me about it.
Yeah. So
I love it.
It was just like a dream. So she was the only celebrity that ever to this day has come to Wigs and Wishes and never charged us. And she still hasn't charged us, and she's been coming for years, and she even put on a full-blown, it was the first private concert she had done in 25 years. She did here in New Jersey before her residency in Vegas. And anyway, so Andy says she needs a handler. I said, oh, I'm the handler. So I get a ticket, a non-flying ticket you need to go to the terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes this unbelievable, beautiful woman with boots up to here, painted on jeans, gorgeous, like just stunning. She walks off that plane, and I don't get starstruck. My heart is going to explode. It's like in a blender on Frappy right now, right? It's like just going bananas.
Gorgeous, yeah.
And I went up to her and I said, you are so beautiful. And she said, thank you, sweetheart, and gave me a hug. Kindest woman you'll ever meet. And I said, one of my favorite words is beshared. It's a Jewish word that means meant to be.
Yeah.
And she went, that's my favorite word.
No.
Swear. We became best friends ever since.
Amazing.
And, so she took our charity to a whole nother level.
Yes.
Because her name, she's a superstar. And
Yes.
when people see that she's helping these kids, and she's helped so many women and so many kids, and and she's so sweet, and she's just so kind. Like, you can't not love her. So without her, I really believe we would have never, we wouldn't have reached the place we're at in the time we reached it. She definitely did help catapult us to a whole nother level. And then plus, not just that, her friendship has added value to my life. Like, we lean on each other, like when something happens, like when my father died, when her father died, we were the ones that were there for each other.
Right.
And then now we're business partners. Now we've got Forever Your Curl.
Forever Your Curl. That's right. It's a new curl and iron that you just launched. We had Martino and Paula Abdul inside of Preferred Health magazine. So thank you so much for being part of our, the journey of Preferred Health. But yeah, what's so special about that curl and iron?
So, Paula is very, she's a perfectionist, right? Mm-hmm. Like you watched her on the BMA Awards, and it was like unbelievable. But to her, she'll pick it apart. Oh, this could have been better. That could have been better. Meantime, she's flipping and jumping, and she's the queen of pop, like literally.
Yes,
Like
yes.
he was the king of pop behind me.
Yes.
She's the queen of pop. So she wanted something that was completely different. We're not just going to put our name on a white label tool and sell it. It's got to be different. So we thought really long and hard, and it took a long time to get it right. But this curling iron, so your hair is soft when it's hot, and when it's cool, it's hard again. Right. So a lot of women, when they curl their hair, they take the curling iron out while the hair is hot. They run their fingers through it, and then they think their hair doesn't hold a curl. They don't realize they just didn't do it the right way. You gotta wait, let it cool down, right?
Right.
Well, this cools it for you. So it heats up the hair, and as the curl comes out, it blows cold air on it, and it sets your curl. That's why it's called Forever Your Curl. So we launched it together during COVID in Rhode Island via Skype on HSN, and we beat our goal by, I forget, like 820% or some crazy number.
Wow.
And we've got more stuff coming out. We just launched Straight Up, a cordless flat iron, which is so cool. It's beautiful. And we've got some other things that are going to be coming out. So it started as a friendship. Then it started as a life changer. Went to a life changer, and now we're business partners. It's crazy.
I love it so much. Congratulations with that relationship. Please head over to wigsandwishes.org to find out how you can volunteer, sponsor, donate your own hair, and get a wig if you lost it due to chemo. Just tell us really quick about the gala you just had. I mean, COVID couldn't stop that.
I tell you what, for a minute, I let myself, be a wimp and just said we weren't going to do it. Yeah. And then I started getting, messages. What's the gala going to be like this year? How are we doing the gala? And I thought, I can't let these people down. Can't let them down. So my pastor, who I've been going to the same church for 30 some years, he said, why don't you use the church? I'm like, wait a minute, use the church. It's a big church. It's a huge stage. It has screens. It has sound. We don't have to rent anything because we always spend so much money renting everything for the gala that we have at the venue. That's beautiful. But, anyway, and by Governor Murphy's law, we were allowed to have 240 people in the building. So, okay, we're not going to have 1,000 this year, but if we have 240 in the building, and if the weather's nice, we could have food trucks outside. We're allowed to have 500 people outside.
Which it was. So you had a great day, right? It's beautiful.
It was a miracle. It was literally a miracle. And I have to tell you that it was probably one of the most intimate, beautiful moments of Wigs and Wishes, because you didn't have, sorry for all those that come every year, you know, all these people drunk, right, in the back of the room, loud and rowdy, right? Yes. No drinking in church. So, right. And the queen of the night, her story this year, she was, engaged to be married, and she has to have a double mastectomy, and she was her high school sweetheart. We crowned her queen of the night, and then we brought last year's queen, and she's cancer free now. She's on my yes, she's on my YouTube channel, Footprints in the Sand video, and it was just amazing. And then Paula came in via Skype, and we lit 250 candles at one time in honor of those we've lost throughout the year. And it was just so beautiful and just so intimate that I am so grateful that I didn't give up and not have it, Yeah.
Thank you for not giving up. That's amazing. Thanks. It's in the video. It's in the video that we showed in the very beginning. And head over to Martino's YouTube channel. What's the name of your YouTube channel? You have great information and content.
Thank you. Just Martino Cartier.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I saw you on Caught in Providence, and this was before I researched you, and I love Judge Caprio. Is it Judge
Caprio? He's the best.
Caprio. He's such an amazing human being. I love that. And I lived in Rhode Island for 10 years. Really? One of my favorite states. I love Newport. Everybody who knows me knows that. I love Newport so much. Did you ever go there?
Have you ate at the Coast Guard house or whatever?
Of course. My ex-boyfriend used to work there.
Judge Caprio owns it.
No.
Yes. So I had never been to Rhode Island until I went to film with Paula. Yeah. And Paula is friends with Judge Caprio. So we filmed at the son's house. So then I met the judge that night. So his son says, tell my father about your adoption story. Yeah. So I share my adoption story with the judge. And I knew nothing about Caught in Providence. I knew nothing about anything. So he says, I think you and Paula should come to the courtroom tomorrow, and let's just see if there's a case that I think would fit for either one of you. Can't make it up.
Wow.
So me and Paula are in the chambers, and it's like an hour. Now, mind you, we were up all night, right? So an hour goes by, we're like falling asleep in the judge's office. Another hour goes by, and then they come in like, Paula, the judge would like to see you. So I forget, his thing was like, I think he ran a red light or something. So I text the judge and I say, tell him if he can name 3 Paula Abdul songs, you'll let him off the hook. So the judge does, and the guy got it. I couldn't, it was so
Oh
funny.
my God.
So we're laughing. And then all of a sudden, then we go back into the chambers, and then I didn't know anything about this guy. I knew nothing about his story. All my friends were like, oh, this is so scripted. I'm like, no, I swear on my mother, it was real as you and I are talking to each other.
Amazing.
And yeah, so he brings me out, and he says, you saw the story. So I just lose it. I just, like, everything inside of me, all my demons were just like, remember when you were this, remember when you were that? And I just started bawling my eyes out. And I've stayed in touch with Anthony, and soon, it's probably because of COVID why it hasn't happened, but I did find his father, and his father does want to meet him.
Oh
and
my God.
Yeah. So we're going to do it, and then Caught in Providence is going to do a follow-up story on it.
Amazing. I love Caught in Providence. That's on
It's a
Instagram,
great-
by the way, and I think you can go on their YouTube channel to see the full videos. But tell us about your adoption. You were born baby boy Ayed?
Ayad.
And
Which ironically means celebration in Arabic.
oh wow. And you were adopted by a Irish family. So
Correct.
when did you start having questions when you look like this wonderful, beautiful Italian man to me? I mean, but you're Egyptian.
So crazy. So my mother who adopted me, she's one of the greatest woman on the earth. I mean, she is just she's Snow White, you know, my mom, and literally she's Irish, so she is Snow White. She's Snow White. Yeah. So when I was adopted, 6 months old, my name went from baby boy Ayad to Martin McGuire. Now look at me. Do I look like a Martin McGuire?
No, that's Irish all the way.
So my mom always told me when I was little, you know, she would say, Marty's adopted, Marty's special, from when I was little, like as far as I can remember. Mm-hmm. And then when I was about 4, and they were not religious. They didn't really go to church or anything, but she drew a map of Egypt and the Nile River. And she told me about Moses and how Moses was sent from his family to save him. And then he was adopted, and that his sister's name was Miriam. Mm-hmm. So she was trying to show me that just like Moses was given a second chance, you were given a second chance. Yes. And I was lucky to have you. That's what my mother told me. Okay. Then in 1986, a movie comes out called An American Tale. Yes. By that time, my family had lost everything. And you know, when you don't dress like the other kids, you don't have things the other kids have, then you wind up getting bullied. And when you lose everything, you wind up becoming angry. So my father was extremely abusive to me, verbally, physically, mentally, everything but sexually. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so this movie comes out, An American Tale, and my mother buys it. She doesn't know what it's about. It's a cute mouse on a boat on the front of the VHS thing. So she thinks it's something I would like. Right. She has no clue that it's about a mouse that loses his family and spends the whole movie trying to be reunited with them. And then James Ingram starts singing Somewhere Out There. Yes. So I'm like, could this get any worse? So I was 11. Yeah, I was 11 and just crying and crying and crying. And my poor mother didn't know what to do. And she said, when you turn 18, I will find your birth family for you. Wow. So we moved to New Jersey, and I become really close with my guidance counselor. And I struggled with depression and all this other nonsense. And she was just such a rock for me. Mm-hmm. And she said, when you turn 18, I'm going to help you find your birth family because I think this is what's missing in your life. Yeah. So I turned 18 and I was born in Jersey City. So she gets an excuse from the principal and we drive down JFK Boulevard to Journal Square to get my records. Mm-hmm. And we get there, and long story short, the Freedom of Information Act didn't apply in 1975. And he said, you're not going to get your records and you're never going to get them. I'm sorry, but they're sealed and you will never have your records. So now my poor guidance counselor, I'm crying the whole ride home. It's 2 hours away. I'm crying the whole ride home. And I just felt so deflated that I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. So I took my mother's car and I put a hose in the muffler. I put the other hose in the window, and that was it. I was checking out. Somebody found the car. I was unconscious, broke the window, called 911. I wake up in a hospital with my mother crying. So then I thought to myself, I have to get over this. Like, being adopted is not what defines me. But even though I felt that way, I guess I didn't believe it at the time. So then a couple years later, Oprah is coming to Walmart near me to do a book signing. So I'm like, anyone can find my birth family. Oprah can do it. I wait 8 hours to meet her. 8 hours I wait to meet Oprah. And I had on a little card that my name is Martin McGuire. I'm adopted from Egypt. Can you please help me find my family?
That's how desperate you were. That's how desperate you felt at that time. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
So I gave it to her bodyguard, and he looked at it, he put his pocket. I never heard from Oprah. Then I had a client who brought me on the Montel Williams show for something completely different. And the only reason I went is because I wanted to tell him about my adoption story. So I did, and I told the producers. They didn't care. They didn't want to help me. They could care less. Then my father and I got into a massive fight. You know, he used to always say, you're never going to make it. You're this, you're that. You know, he used to curse at me. And his mother, which was a lovely woman, my grandmother, she used to say, I wish I adopted you. I wish you were my son instead of my son. She was wonderful.
Wow.
And once again, I felt deflated, and I felt like I couldn't do this anymore. So I went and bought 33 bags of cocaine. And hi, Mom. I'm on a live Zoom. Nice to see you. She just popped in. She always comes in to make sure my coffee's ready for the next day. That's one of the nice things of having a mom that lives 10 minutes away.
That's right.
So I drove far away because I didn't want my mother to have to read in the paper that, you know, I was found dead on the side of the street in my own town. I just drove and drove. I don't even know where. I wound up in some upstate New York. And I did all of it in one shot.
You're lucky to be alive.
Once again, somebody finds me. Somebody calls 911. I wake up in a hospital. And it's very it's not bizarre now looking back. It was a God thing. But I had bruises on my chest, burn marks, you know, from them doing the paddles and CPR.
Yes.
Bye, Mom. Love you. And bye, son. Love you too. and I'm glad she's leaving because I hate telling that story around her. Sorry for her to hear it. Of
course, yeah.
But so the paramedic that saved me came to visit me, which was so bizarre to me at the time, and it still is. And he gave me a ride back to my car that still had the paraphernalia in it. I never got in trouble. We never got a bill from the hospital. It was so almost like a movie, right?
Wow.
And then I had to call my parents and tell my parents what happened and what I did. And they were scared. They didn't know where I was for 2-3 days. And I think that's pretty much when I then believed what I was telling myself, that being adopted is not what defines me. Then I met Bobby, and then life starts to change.
Right.
And then I had a friend that was going to visit Egypt, and it kind of brought everything back again, you know, because my mother believed that my birth mother went back to Egypt to marry my father, my birth father. That's what she was told by the adoption agency. So I thought in my head that my mother and father, biological, are in Egypt with kids, and I've got brothers and sisters, and life is happy, and I'm here, you know, this is what I'm dealing with. That's what was in my head my whole life. When my friend went to visit Egypt on a vacation, it brought all these wounds back. And I literally prayed that night. And I said, God, I need you to help me let this go. Like, I am not defined by being adopted. I need you to let it go. I had a dream that night. I had a dream that I was in Egypt, and I saw this woman, and I said to her, is, I said to her, is your name Miriam? I've told this story so many times that I just thought of something. Miriam, my mother, when I was little, told me Moses' sister was Miriam. I never put that together till now. So in my dream, it's so bizarre. I said to her in my dream, I said, is your name Miriam?
Yeah.
And she said, yes. I named you Ayad because it's my last name.
That's right.
Put the two names together and you will find me. And I woke up. I was 30 years old. I'm 45 now. I was 30 years old. I woke up. It was a Friday. I was in a pool of sweat. I was hysterical crying, and I owned a very big salon at that time. I went to work. They thought I had completely lost my mind. I canceled all my appointments. I went online. I started Googling, and I learned that Ayad is a last name. And that's the reason why nobody believed me that I was Egyptian. All these years when I would try to tell people my name's Ayad, they're like, it's not a first name. We weren't even saying it right. Who knows what? So I call the adoption registry department in Trenton, New Jersey, and I get this woman. I had called 100 times in my lifetime, and I always got some terrible state worker that could care less. You ever call motor vehicle? That's what it's like calling, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
But I get this nice lady. Dolores Helb was her name. And I kind of didn't tell her the truth. I told her that I had my records. I lost my records. I need a copy of my records, you know?
Yeah.
She didn't buy it at all. She knew I wasn't telling the truth. And she said, listen, give me some time. I will try to get you whatever unidentifying information I have. Unidentifying.
Right.
Well, what am I going to do with that? More red tape. I don't want to, how tall, how fat, how skinny, like, what do I need that for, you know?
Right.
And then it was like maybe almost 5 o'clock and my phone rang. I'll never forget it. It was like a StarTAC flip phone, you know, and it was a 609 area code, which is Trenton.
Yes.
So my heart starts racing. I answer the phone and it was Dolores Helb. And she said, where are you? I said, I'm at work. She said, I need you to go somewhere quiet. So now I'm like, my birth mother died for sure. That's why else would I have to go somewhere quiet?
Right.
And she said, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mother's been looking for you since 1986.
Oh my God.
1986 is when I watched American Tail.
Oh my.
1986.
This is insane.
Okay, this is why I believe in God so much. You understand?
Of course.
Yeah. So I, for the first time, cried out to meet my birth mother in 1986. I prayed to a God I didn't know about. My parents weren't religious. They didn't go to church, but I prayed to somewhere out there. It took 22 years for me to have the faith that he was going to answer that prayer.
Wow.
So she says to me, your mother's been looking for you since 1998. There's a letter sitting here, but I need your ID in order for me to give you the letter. You have to come to Trenton, and we close in 5 minutes. You're going to have to come Monday. I said, listen, lady, I'm very fragile about the situation.
Right.
I said, you have to tell me. I won't survive the weekend. Is her name Miriam Ayad? And she said, yes. So I spent all weekend like a psychopath, literally. I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore, but I used to smoke.
Yeah.
I chain smoked the whole weekend, listening to James Ingram somewhere out there on repeat, like a mental patient, rocking. Like I had all this anger, and I had all this just like 22 years. Are you kidding me? 22 years. I thought that I was unwanted. I thought all these horrible things, and it was a lie. It was all a lie. I believed a lie for so long. Monday morning, I arrive at Trenton the second the doors open. Dolores Helb is there. And you could tell she'd been crying. She gives me this letter, and it says, dear my son. I couldn't read the letter anymore. I couldn't read it. So one of the workers there read the letter, and it said, dear my son, I want you to know why I left you with another family, because I wasn't married and they shamed me. But I will never go back to Egypt, and I will never marry someone else. I will wait for you for the rest of my life at 2554 JFK Boulevard, Jersey City, with the number. Love, your mom, Miriam Ayad.
She's right around the corner.
And remember the street my guidance counselor drove me down to get my records? It was JFK Boulevard. I
can't believe this.
None of you, yeah. Go ahead.
I can't even speak.
I've been telling the story for how many years it's been now, and I've shared it in front of 30,000 people. I've shared it in front of 2 people. I've shared it in front of one person, and I still get emotional, and I still can't believe that God gave me such a blessing. But again, I wouldn't change it for the world. Had I got that letter at 11 years old, I wouldn't have a story to tell.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
and when I go to hair shows and I speak at these massive convention centers, and there's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people, I start out by forget the jewelry, forget the spike shoes, forget the rhinestone jacket.
Yeah.
I want you to know the real Martino Cartier.
Yes.
And then once they know where I came from, then they know I'm real. They know that I'm not a salesperson.
Yes.
They know that so my story has changed the lives of thousands, tens of thousands of people, if not more. And it was all meant to be. It was all b'sher.
Yes.
It was all meant to be.
You probably wouldn't be sitting here right now doing Wigs and Wishes if you would have received that letter at the age of 11. I totally believe in a path that we already have that we have to go on. And if we go a different way.
That's exactly right. I got a wish granted for me, right? I got a wish granted. So how do you get a wish and not give one back? That's kind of how I look at it. That's why I say, you don't know how to give, you don't know how to live.
I love that saying. Now, a quick question for you. As you were talking before about your father abused you, do you think you wanted to find your family to get away from that situation that you were in?
I don't think so, because I loved my mother so much.
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to find my birth family, because being adopted, you have a feeling of rejection, right? Nobody likes to be rejected. And even though it doesn't matter what the situation is, but I have to tell you, I was wrong. I thought finding my birth family would make me feel complete. My guidance counselor thought it would make me feel whole. I got to tell you, it didn't do anything, any of the above, except prove that God answers prayers, right? You still feel rejected. It doesn't go away. It's like a scar.
Okay.
So you use that scar to somehow help others, like a breast cancer survivor would use her scar to help encourage other breast cancer warriors. So, my adopted mother, so I get that letter. I kind of forgot to finish the story. I called my mother and I said, "Mom, you're not going to believe this. I found my birth mother. I'm coming to get you. We're going." And she said, "I am not going to Egypt." I said, "Mom, she lives an hour and a half away." She screamed on the phone. Couldn't believe it. So we get there and the door opens, and Miriam said to my mom, "I was afraid for this day that you would reject me."
Yes.
And my mom said, "Because of you, I had a son. So we're sisters." And they've been best friends ever since. And but my mom will always be my mother.
Yes.
My mom will always be my mom, and Miriam will always be Miriam, right? I love Miriam, but she's not my mom. She's my birth mom, right? But then the biggest thing I think was when I found my birth father, because Miriam and my birth father hadn't spoken since the day she left Egypt.
Right.
She was mad that he didn't come here, but he was in the service. He couldn't leave. And they hated each other. So I asked her the day I met her for his name, and she only told me Farouk. And in the beginning, she didn't really want to tell me his name, but I said, "I need his name. I need his name." So she tells me his name. My friend who went to Egypt on vacation has a cousin that lives there who happens to be a police officer in Egypt. So I email Sharif and I said, "You're not going to believe this, but I have my father's name. I need you to help me find him." And he basically told me it's impossible.
Right.
Because, like everybody's like Tom Smith, right?
Yeah.
Or like every Italian's Joey.
Yeah.
Every Egyptian man's Farouk. And woman is Miriam. It's like they're all the same name. And it's impossible for them to have a baby out of wedlock and then marry and have another family. They just don't do that over there. So no one's going to believe this story anyway. Well, God's number of completion is 7. And 7 days later, Sharif found Farouk. And he pulls him aside and he says, "Do you know a woman named Miriam Ayad?" And he said, he looked like he was going to have a heart attack. And he said, "She was my friend a long time ago." And Sharif said, "He was more than a friend, because you've got a kid in America who wants to meet you."
Wow.
And so my father said, I want to meet him. I want to meet him. So Sharif sent me pictures and I sent him pictures, and he was married with 2 kids. And I said, listen, I don't want to mess up his life. I just want to meet him. You don't have to tell his family. He doesn't have to tell them. And I said, just tell them that I'm a friend's kid in America who wants to visit Egypt. The minute you see me with him, you're going to know he's my,
Really?
he's my father.
You look
Yeah.
just like him.
It's just funny. So
Wow.
anyway, so I go to Egypt,
Mm.
and 2007, I go to Egypt and I get an interpreter, and I tell the interpreter, you cannot reference him as my father or me, his son. His family does not know. So keep that in mind during our conversation. Okay. So we get to his house. I knock on the door, and first his son opens the door, my half brother. His name's Reagan. And he hugs me, really tight hug. And I'm like, man, this is a real friendly family. So then Michael, my other brother, he hugs me. Then his wife, she's squeezing the life out of me. And then he's crying and hugging me. I'm like, geez, this family's really something else over here in Egypt. So the interpreter says, God help him. He says, your father told me to tell you. I said, don't say father. Listen, your father said. I said, what's wrong with you? And he says,
That's funny.
your father says, I told them you're his kid. He told them, and I didn't know. That's why they were hugging me and whatever. So his wife did the unheard of, welcomed me, thinking she married a virgin. To this day, Uncle Martino, I am to the kids that we Facebook video all the time. They're the cutest, Olivia and Lavinia, my nieces. And my father and I had the best father-son relationship on the planet, even though I was in America and he was in Egypt.
Yeah.
And, we would write letters, we would call all the time. And the only regret I have in life is not going back often enough. I should have gone more often. And then
He's passed away. I'm very sorry.
Thanks. Last January 13th, my father was in a car accident, but the language barrier, even all these years later, I've learned Arabic and they've learned English. It's still really hard to communicate. And sometimes translation, even when they use the apps or Google Translate, it still screws it up.
Right.
So my dad had been in a car accident, and I asked how bad it was. Like, do I need to come to Egypt? And my brother said, minor scrapes, cuts, and bruises, minor.
Right.
I didn't know until later he meant major.
Oh.
So last January 13th, I get home from church, and my brother messages me on Facebook, and it said, our father has gone to be with our Lord.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I literally collapsed. I collapsed to the ground. Like, because over there, it's like Jewish people here, they bury you the same day or the next day. It's
Right.
like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get to Egypt. So I texted my mother. I said, I need you to come to the house right now. So she comes here. I could barely talk. And I said, I'm going to the airport. I'm going to get on the first flight to Egypt, and I don't know when I'm coming back. So I got to the airport, JFK airport. I got on a flight at 6 o'clock that day. They got me on it. They were so wonderful at the airport. They got me on a plane. I got to Egypt the next day, and they had already buried him. So I knew it was going to happen, and, but I got to be with my brothers. And once again, I was so angry with God. I was so mad at God. And it was so clear. He was like, you're mad for what? You're mad that you met a father you never thought you were going to meet. You're mad because he loved you. You're mad because you got to spend 13 years with him. You're mad because of that. That's why you're mad? Because I gave you all this stuff that you didn't think you were going to get before you lost him? Yeah. So I turned my morning into dancing, and I went to the pyramids, been there 100 times, but I went to the pyramids dressed up like I looked like Arafat, and I got on a camel, and I just enjoyed God's beautiful land.
That's
and and I knew my father was looking down. And if you give me one second, I want to show you a picture.
Please.
If it's okay.
Thank you.
This is the first day that I met my father. First day that I met him.
Oh, wow.
And,
wow, that doesn't even look like you.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, wow. That's a beautiful photo.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite pictures. So I spoke in church on Mother's Day. And on my YouTube channel, if you watch that video, I share the story of when he passed away, but I play a voice memo that he left me. And it's like, you know, my son, happy birthday. I love you. Love your father. I mean, like, this is a beautiful message. And one of the greatest things that ever happened with my story was meeting my birth father, because I think that was part of the missing link, you know, for me, because my father wanted to be a good dad. He didn't know how. You know, my adopted father, you know, he lost everything. And, you know, like I said, when you lose everything and you don't have the know-how to reinvent yourself, you know, I've reinvented myself 100 times, but my father didn't know how to do it.
Right.
And having him, my two half brothers, is just, it's a miracle. My life is nothing but a miracle.
Have you ever considered writing a book? Are you going to be writing a memoir or a biography?
I would love to. The problem is my ADD, I'd have to have somebody else do it. I'd have to just sit down with them for days or hours or whatever it would take. And we would have to just record talking back and forth, and somebody else would have to do it, because there's just no way. I'm like Dory the fish. People are like, wait, what? You just told me that. I'm like, oh, I did?
Well, hopefully you will, because that will be a very inspiring story.
Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you for everything that you've shared with us. I'm like in awe right now. I must have said wow so many times, and that's a no-no on the radio, but whatever. Question for you, Martino, if you can kindly just give people advice if they are thinking of ending their lives because of their situation, what would you tell them?
I would just tell them that you'll regret it. Pretend that you did, and look down on yourself, and look down on the life around you, and look down at your family, your loved ones, and those people lives that you would have changed that now you can't. You'll regret it. You'll regret it, and this too shall pass. I know it sounds corny, but my mother always says it, and my mother's always right. This too shall pass. And, you know, don't believe the lie. You have value. You have promise. You have a purpose. You have potential. Don't believe the lie. You were made in the image of God. Remember that. You were made in his image, and this too shall pass.
I want to thank you so much for everything. You're a true inspiration, and I mean that with my whole heart, and I thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Please head over to www.martinocartier.com. That's CARTIER to learn more about his salon, location, and his life's work.
If you have a vegan product, make your vegan claim official with the only accredited vegan trademark in the world. Visit www.beveg.com. That's www.beveg.com to apply now. Making a Difference is sponsored by Preferred Health Magazine. Please visit www.preferredhealthmagazine.com today and subscribe.